or if you were a member of the media, rather, what questions would you ask? What 2 questions would you ask? Would you love to ask Coach Rod or anybody on his staff for that matter?
Well,
if you had the opportunity, what's the first one?
Well, that's not where I was going. So I'll say, and we may want to touch on it. I was going to say, how did we not talk about Neil Brown to Texas? Potentially.
Let's do it.
We haven't talked about but first, the questions for Coach Rodriguez. First, is there any chance we could get Couz's Corner into the media availability? We need that.
I'm working on it.
No. I'll tell you that that is a curveball. I think one would probably be generic. I think number one would be it's early, but at this stage, how do you feel X amount of days in compared to previous stops, Jacksonville State, when you came in and did rebuilds? If you're how X amount of days in, how do you feel you are right now versus Jack State, versus Arizona, versus Michigan? In previous stops where you tried to rebuild programs, how does this compare, even though early, to some other stops? That'd probably be one.
That is a great question. And I hadn't even thought about that one.
Yeah, that's probably one. The second one, I don't know, Couz. I mean, if we just stuck with actual football, is he satisfied with, even though early, has he identified any other areas where he feels like he needs to kind of look in the portal when it opens back up? I don't know that would be a question that you would get a lot of answer to, just because don't want to let that cat out of the bag. But that would be one. And, I guess the second one, and he might have been, or if it was non-on-field stuff. So if I had one serious one, and then the other one would probably be, I know it was a press conference. I know you came back. But when you actually walked back out on the field and had to whistle in your mouth, how'd it feel? Yeah. Just curious. So I'd probably ask one football and one emotion question.
Yeah, I like it.
But that's a good segment. Because the more I think about it outside of your 30-second curveball, I probably could think of some more. So it's a really good question. Mm-hmm. Really good question.
Yep. What made me think about that was when I talked about the good, them asking a good question, and it was one I had wanted somebody to ask, and then the idea to do this just popped in my head, and then I remembered, wait a minute, I remember Paul doing this over in Locked On West Virginia a few shows ago, but so I know somebody probably said, go and come on here and think I say I'm copying him, but we can all do this. We don't all content is not copywritten, right? I mean, we can talk about the same things. Sure. Anyway,
and I'll say, Rich, if you want to come on, I know a guy. I know a guy that can get you on here. So
that's right. Yeah, we can do it. We can do it right now.
I think I've got a connection or two that can book you on this show.
He has been making the rounds on. He's been going on a lot of national shows, I've noticed.
Yeah. Yeah, which is really good. That
it is good
that the attention's been paid back to him returning.
I think it's great. That's what we need in this day and age of college football and college sports. The two questions I would ask, and maybe injury questions are off limits for some reason, because I've not heard one injury question asked so far this spring, which is extremely odd because it's usually the first question out of Greg Hunter's mouth. So I got a feeling somebody's told him we're not asking about injuries, but let's assume that's not the case. I would ask, where's Eddie Vestorinen in his recovery from his injury? Is he participating in spring practice? A, and B, we all know Jaheim White had a knee procedure done because he posted it on his social media pages, and Rich Rod made a comment that he's not practicing right now. Where's he at in his recovery?
Yeah.
That's the, those are kind of lumped into one question, but I would want to know, you got two guys who, Jaheim, I'm an obvious starter in my opinion, and then Eddie V, likely a starter because of his experience level. Where are those two guys at?
Yeah.
In their recovery process?
So Eddie V is going to be, I think we would agree that he's going to be important to the season. Mm-hmm. He's tough, physical, Even though it's a different system, he's familiar with the field, the campus, the university. He's been around for a while. Jaheim's really, really an important one. So I don't know that he's necessarily given a whole lot of updates, but when he talks about players who are absent, and he talks about specifically the running backs, he has kind of thrown in the Jaheim's not here.
Mm-hmm.
He's talented, but I'm not really worried about Jaheim.
Yeah.
And so the question there, or the follow up, would be: is he not worried about Jaheim because he's talented, he's smart, he's going to be able to pick up the system rather easy? They're working on some stuff behind the scenes, non-contact type stuff. Or is he not worried about him because he knows his progression is going well? Hopefully both.
Right.
But yeah, good question, because those are two players that if you're going to have some success next year, especially Jaheim, you're going to need them healthy.
Yeah. The other day, this is my second question, but I'm going to segue it. I would have tied it in to another question I heard. One of the reporters asked him about, I think they specifically asked about Rodney, and then and I don't know if they asked him or he just decided to expand on how some of the other receivers are doing, but he didn't mention Dom Collins. And because Dom's an in-state kid, I thought maybe one of the reporters would say, hey, how about in-state receiver Dom Collins, who's, really fast. And of course, you and I are down here in Southern West Virginia, so we're biased, right?
Yep.
We want to see these Southern West Virginia kids do well. I would ask him, hey, where do you see Dom Collins? Where do you see Dom Collins fitting in on this team or on this offense? Do you see him possibly, getting snaps? Do you think he needs another year development? Something like that. I would ask to see what he says, because I think somebody with his speed and his athleticism could blossom in a Rich Rodriguez offense.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head. We are supportive of all Mountaineers, but those Southern West Virginia guys just pull at you a little harder,
Yeah.
I will say some of the pictures that we saw a few weeks back, Dom's putting that work in the weight room.
Yeah, he is.
There was the picture, and I know you know what I'm talking about, of the tell you how out of shape and old I am. I don't know if that's a vertical or a high jump or what they call that.
A vertical.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I knew what it was, but when you don't do that, in fear of tearing something,
right.
You stay away from it. But if you'll look, and you and I were, and if a picture could speak 1,000 words, you and I have been around Dom at various times. Not only was it impressive to see that vertical, but you could tell his legs, his thighs, his body. He really worked himself in the offseason, which to me shows the commitment and the investment into the program and himself and getting better. So, look, you can't teach speed.
Yeah, you can't. And Dom's always had a good work ethic. I mean, he used to go, it's my understanding, he used to go work out. He'd work out in the mornings. He'd go to school. They'd usually have their after school workouts. And then some evenings he would even go to he was going to a local trainer here that you probably know.
Yeah.
And working out there in the evenings too. He was working out sometimes 2 to 3 times a day, almost religiously.
Yeah.
And he's done that. He did that pretty much all through high school for the most part.
Yeah.
And, I think, and the speed is obviously a gift, but I think his work ethic has also helped, maybe maintain it and maybe even get him a little faster. Right. And of course it's helped him be stronger and all the other stuff too. And heck, I would even ask Jonathan, about Judah Price, Judah Price from Independence. He's a walk on.
Yeah. The was it the 40s, or I saw something online with his sprint speed or something?
It was
miles per hour.
Yeah. It was, I'm trying to think of the word they used. Not
I don't think it was miles, but right at the top.
Yep.
Yes.
He was up there.
That's
I would ask
impressive.
about him for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, you can't teach that speed. So
acceleration, I think, is what they were measuring there.
There you go.
In miles per hour. Sorry, I was drawing a blank. But
well,
I mean, he's only 5'6" or 5'7", but he's a great athlete in his own right. What I fear about him is he's one of those walk-ons that Coach Rod's been talking about. They're going to have to get rid of some of those guys, to get their scholarship from 125 down to 105. I hope Judah's not one of them.
Yeah.
But we'll see. And, heck, I don't even know that scholarship players will be safe. Honestly.
Yeah. Probably not. That's
Uh,
a lot of guys.
It is. And Rich, you can tell Rich really doesn't want to have to do that. I mean, he was a walk-on himself. So I
Yeah.
think he has a soft spot for, and, Owen Schmidt was a walk. There's been a lot of great walk-ons through West Virginia history. And I think he has a soft spot for some of those guys, and he doesn't want to have to do that. But unfortunately, that's just a hand they've been dealt. And every program's going to have to do it. So it's not just West Virginia, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. But anyway, I just thought that would be an interesting segment to do, something a
Yeah.
little fun.
Sure.